Carrie, just name one reason visiting downtown Colorado Springs can be a real blast.
Free art.
Oh, yeah?
Yep, free art.
Well, we'll learn all about that next on Loving the Springs,
where we celebrate the best and elevate the rest.
This is Studio 809 Podcasts, informing, connecting, and empowering the residents of the Pikes Peak region.
We're being joined by Michelle Winchell, Executive Director of Downtown Ventures. Carrie's at the table with me. Al is with us, but virtually, because he's somewhere in Montana.
I'm in Kalispell, Montana.
Enjoying the other mountains.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're going to talk about art on the streets.
Yes, wonderful.
And we're doing that because there's a big event related to that coming up, and we'll get to that. But before we have this conversation, I think we want to disclose that the Downtown Partnership, Downtown Colorado Springs, is a member of the Studio 809 Podcast Collective.
Yep. Art on the Streets is near and dear to our hearts and one of the main programs that we do at Downtown Colorado Springs. So we're glad to both be a partner and a member at Studio 809 and be able to come on and tell everyone about what we do both at the partnership and ventures.
Yeah, we love downtown, and so we're really thrilled to be partnering with Downtown Colorado Springs. And you would be here anyway, Michelle.
Thank you for that reassurance.
Yeah. First, I want to just find out a little bit about Downtown Ventures. You're the executive director of that, and you get to claim credit for making art on the streets happen, right?
I do. It's a really fun and interesting job. So Downtown Ventures is our nonprofit arm of the Downtown Partnership, and that encompasses our creative district programs, which include Art on the Streets, our annual public art program.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, that was so enlightening. I could see it's clear as mud by your face.
You have it. Man,
so
you don't need a long elevator ride to deliver that pitch.
No, so that includes all of our cultural programs that people love, like First Fridays and all of that as well. But Art on the Streets is our flagship program, and it's actually in its 27th year this year. So I think we brought over 300 pieces of art to downtown in that time. And the program started because it was kind of in that era where people were moving away from downtown and kind of off into shopping malls. And so a couple of local businesswomen got together and they're like, well, what can we do to help keep downtown vibrant and make it engaging and have people want to still come down here to shop and dine and do all of the things? So that's where the seed of the program came from. And then over the years, we've evolved and grown it. So it started out just as a sculpture lease program. So we'd lease a sculpture from an artist for a year, which is great because that means the art is always changing. There's always something new and interesting to see. And then in 2019, we added murals. So you'll have seen a lot of murals pop up around downtown in the last few years, and people have responded really positively to that as well.
I'm pretty excited to find out that I have you to thank for killing the shopping malls.
Yes, me personally. You're welcome.
Now you have to get coffee at a pop-up local shop in the middle of Tejon instead of in some corporate chain with a strip mall.
And where would everybody be playing pickleball if it weren't for those vacant shopping malls?
They can thank us for that too.
Okay, so it started in 98. That's a long stretch.
It is. It really is. It's impressive. And that program's reputation was one of the things that helped us get our creative district certification. So last year was the 10th anniversary of us being a certified creative district. And that's done through Colorado Creative Industries at the state level. So they recognize a creative district as a hub of economic activity and energy and innovation, both for creative industry and things like placemaking and public art.
What does that mean to the people of Colorado Springs or the artists here?
Well, it means that we get some resources and support from the state. So some of that is peer learning. So just a couple weeks ago, I was in Grand Junction for the annual Colorado Creative Industries Summit. And there was a great group of humans from Colorado Springs who all attended. And 4 of us were on a panel together talking about the arts and economic development. And then we also get a little bit of operating support in the form of a grant from the state annually that helps support the programs of the Creative District.
Okay. So what's coming up June 6th?
June 6th is our scavenger hunt and public launch of this year's Art on the Streets. So it's a really fun time. It is a free event, but we do cap attendance, so you want to register early. Wonderful way to explore our city center, discover new businesses, see all of the new art. So we'll have volunteers stationed at each new artwork, and they'll have either a little prize or giveaway or activity for people to do. And it's just a really fun social outing. Great way to spend an evening downtown, start off your summer.
and see a whole new batch of public art.
Yes.
Will there be a passport?
There is a passport. You get a little card, a little map. You put stickers on it. It's great fun.
Yes, good.
We like to say it's a great date night. It's a great family night out. It's a great way to kind of take yourself on a date and do a art crawl. It's great for girlfriends going out together, have some girl dinner, and then check it all out.
Yep.
There's really no one that's not the target audience for that. And if you hate art, who can actually say they hate art? And the thing is, what a lot of this art on the streets does is make art so much more accessible to people. You can touch this art. Like, there are a lot of places you go, you got to have your hands behind your back. It's look, don't touch. But because this is out on the streets, it's meant to be experienced, and it's in the middle of the busiest part of our city. And so it's there for you, the public.
And it really is cooler than most of the art hanging on the walls in those hoity-toity museums,
Well, it's at least available 24 hours a day and for everybody, as Carrie said. So,
And you can pose for a selfie with a lot of
you
it.
can. There's going to be a really great piece to do that with this year.
Oh, boy.
Ooh, which one?
This one is called Doom Scroll.
Ooh.
And you can imagine what that might be, but I think it'll be a popular selfie spot.
Wow. Yeah, so we'll put a link in the show notes, but it's pretty easy to find how to register if you go to downtowncs.com, right?
Yes, it is. And if you happen to be out of town or traveling, you missed the actual day, we have another great way for people to explore, which is our self-guided audio tour app, Otocast. So we have all the artists record a short introduction talking about themselves and their work and their creative process, and then that's tied to a map, so you can use the app to just explore all the art downtown that way.
So you download Otocast.
Yeah.
So it'll know what piece of art you're near, and I think you have to hit the play button, but it
Yep.
serves it up to you, right?
Yes.
And the cool thing is, when you download Otocast, if you're in another city that uses it for an art program, the tours automatically come up. And so it's great to have as a tourist. So if you're coming here to check it out, or if you happen to be on your way to Ohio or Montana or Texas.
Can we play a little sample from the last year's self-guided audio tour?
Yeah, give people a little sense of what they're in for.
Okay, we'll play a little bit.
My name is Kasia Polkowska. I'm a local Colorado artist. Here is my latest sculpture titled Lepidoptera. It is created with layers of colorful steel. The form is inspired by a traditional Polish folk art from where I come from.
That particular sculpture, it's a really beautiful rendition of a butterfly, and it is actually going to be moving to the Colorado Springs airport this summer.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we're doing a partnership with them this year for the first time. So some of the art that is being deinstalled from last year's exhibition will move out there, and we're hoping to grow that program over the years.
So there's a couple things that can happen to the art after its official year. It doesn't all necessarily disappear, does it?
Well, the murals stay, which we're very happy about. And then sometimes we will do a purchase. We don't necessarily do that every year, but if there's something that's a appropriate fit for the city's permanent collection, then the majority of the time what we do is we purchase it. We have a specific purchase fund, and we don't get any public funding for our program. We fundraise for all of it, typical nonprofit fashion, grants and sponsorships and individual donations. So we'll use some of the money from the purchase fund, and then we actually donate that artwork to the city with an additional percentage that goes into a maintenance fund. Because while our team is mighty, we are small, and we don't have any museum conservation staff to care for art long term, but the Pioneers Museum does. So that has been a good arrangement for us over the years, and we're responsible for, I think, over 90% of the city's permanent art collection came through Art on the Streets. She
mentioned something that is pretty important. Art makes all of our lives better. When you're walking around, you feel more joy. I think you get smarter by looking at it. But everything that we do through Art on the Streets, all of the public art is funded by donations. There are no taxpayer dollars that go to put a sculpture up on the corner of the street, a mural on the side of a building. And a lot of times you'll see folks talking, and there's a lot of text adverse folks in Colorado Springs. And so we want to make sure that they know we're not using the dollars that potentially would fill a pothole or, go towards school, et cetera, for the public art. We actually are raising that money through donations to do that.
No waste, fraud, or abuse.
No, we're bringing you joy. We're not delaying the improvement of your roads.
We have so much really cool art, a lot of great murals and sculptures around downtown. I guess my question is, do we have you to thank for all of those or most of those?
Most of them, there are certain things like historic bronzes, for example. We have some of our kind of significant figures from the city's history. Those have not been through our program.
Like the cowboy reading the paper, that's not a...
I can't remember if he came through it on the streets.
I can't remember either, but I'm thinking more like Spencer Penrose or Stratton, some of those, or Fannie Mae over by the Pikes Peak Center. Those were not through Art on the Streets.
Can't blame you for that statue blocking traffic at...
General Palmer was not us. I do refer to him sometimes on tours as a traffic hazard and an example of where not to place public art.
I'm a little bit of a contrarian. I'm happy with him right where he is. I don't think we should move him.
You're pro-chaos.
So, Michelle, I think we should talk about the chicken in the room.
Yeah. Or over a baker's dozen of eggs.
Yes.
So a lot of times we get asked, are we responsible for the Humpty Dumpties? And the answer is sort of yes, but mostly not exactly. So they have some lore. The first Humpty Dumpty, and they're referred to as Eggmen by their creator, who's an artist from Minneapolis, came through Art on the Streets, and it was stolen. And this is, to be clear, a 300-pound bronze that was bolted down. And I think this was maybe a decade ago. It was a while back.
And that
it was not
crime
found.
has never been solved.
It has never been solved.
How does a 300-pound egg stay in hiding?
I'm certain it's in someone's basement somewhere.
But their friends haven't outed them. How does that happen?
I don't know.
Yeah, you'd be too proud to keep it a secret. You'd want to show it off to somebody.
That's right. So it's disappeared. It has never been seen again. And after a search for that poor egg, Norwood stepped in and paid for a replacement. And in the process, some of their upper level staff fell in love with the eggs. And so you will notice that the majority of the dozens of eggs around downtown are now on Norwood buildings. So that first one came through the Art on the Streets program. It was purchased, and I think that first one's over at the Pikes Peak Center now. And it just suffered a lot of abuse, the replacement even. So the first version got stolen. And then the second one, people kept stuffing things up its nose to the degree that it had to go have a sculpture spa day and have its nostrils filled in so people would stop abusing the poor egg. He was a good egg. I don't know that he did anything to deserve that. So Norwood got what? It was like 10 or it was quite a few more last year. And it sold them on Plaza of the Rockies. So you'll see a big concentration downtown. You'll see them other places around the city. And we've in fact gotten so many questions about the eggs that we built a webpage with a whole listing of them because people want to find all of them.
Well, they are awesome.
One of the coolest ones that was installed last year are actually 2 eggs playing chess on the sidewalk between the Pioneers Museum on Tejon Street, and people engage with them. There's 2 open seats next to them that you can sit down and bring chess pieces if you want and actually play chess.
Do you even know how many there are total?
It's like 20-something.
Because they're also out at First and Main. They're on the apartment buildings that Norwood owns downtown, like the May. Mm-hmm. Eco has one. I'm not sure if Vim has one yet, but I mean, it's wild. There's one that is called a Robin's Egg, and it's dressed like Robin from Batman and Robin. There's the Maestro. I mean, they're so very, very cool. So
there's a deviled egg.
We'll drop the link for the website as well, because you can do a scavenger hunt, not only for Art on the Streets on June 6th, but you can do an egg scavenger hunt. And it's a great date night, a great family-friendly way. Great for the gram. Do it for the gram.
Easter egg hunt.
Easter egg hunt.
100%.
Yeah.
The value of this podcast just shot up knowing what the Eggman story is.
There's a selection process.
Yeah.
Competitive.
It is competitive. So this year we got about 150 applications.
No way.
And a number of them were international. So we maintain an artist list. We do a lot of outreach. And then we have 3 jurors, arts experts every year that will help narrow that huge application pool down to 12 pieces that are ultimately installed. I usually look for a local juror and then someone from somewhere else in Colorado, and then usually someone out of state, so that we really expand the reach of our network and we take advantage of their professional connections and networks as well. So this year it was Nancy Rios, who's with Colorado College and was running CC Mobile Arts and has been on our Art on the Streets committee for a number of years. And then Brendan Picker-Mahoney, who's out of Boulder, public art manager. And then Michelle Sunset, who's with the University of Wyoming Art Museum. So they had quite a job.
So we have 12 new artists this year, or any returning artists from previous years?
There's one artist, Maureen Hardy, who has done some of our lovely little art spot sculptures that are around downtown. And I think she's participated in Art on the Streets before. So Art Spot is our little baby sculpture program in our planters. So you'll notice the large flower pots up and down Tejon Street. Well, Colorado has a short growing season, so the flowers aren't going to bloom year round. So we had wanted to do something to just add color to our downtown. So we have a little steel arm that's in all of the flower pots. And so the sculptures are there most of the year. And then we swap them out for holiday trees around the holiday season. But it's been a really fun program and a great way for people who are maybe a little bit newer to public art to do a smaller scale sculpture.
Pretty cool. So Friday, it's First Friday Art Walk, so you can get 2 for 1 on coming down on June 6th, right?
Yes.
Do your scavenger hunt.
Yeah, explore all of our amazing local galleries and see all the new art.
I feel like you're going to want to come down about 4 o'clock and get coffee or a drink.
Yep.
And then solid from 5 to 9, 5 to 8.
Yeah.
Hit both the scavenger hunt and all the galleries in between. Probably have a snack in the afternoon and then stick around for kind of a late meal at 9 o'clock. It's really a way to spend your whole night downtown. Easy parking. All of the parking garages are $1 an hour. Park once and then walk up and down. If you'd rather get around some other ways, PikeRide always offers a discount code for First Fridays. So if you head to the downtown website and search for First Friday, you can get a PikeRide discount code. There are, of course, the scooters that we do not have a discount code for, but lots of ways to get around downtown, including the Zeb free shuttle. So there's really an easy way to come, not get back in your car till you want to leave, and a ton of things to do that are all art-related, culinary art-related. There should be some live music at some of the places. It's a fun way to spend a Friday.
Be a really fun night.
And if you're just getting home from Montana at midnight Friday night, fear not, because Saturday morning, right, there's another opportunity.
Saturday morning, you can listen to me talk about all of the art and do a walking tour.
Tell us a little about that.
I get to work with the artists. It's really fun. So the jurors select all the artwork, but then once it's selected, I do all of our citing. So we look at all kinds of things from safety, like, will this impale someone? Will a drunk person try to climb it or tackle it? And then we use all that information to decide where we're going to put all of the art. And sometimes it's things like, if something was kind of a light colored stone, I wouldn't put it on a block of downtown that was all beige cement. So you'd want some contrast in the background. We might look for some greenery or some things like that. So it's both aesthetic and practical considerations. There's another little fun bit of lore from Mayor Bach, who was very tall. And apparently he was walking under one of our sculptures and it had maybe a little like extension arm or something off of, and he banged his forehead on it. So now every year when I go through city planning, we refer to it as the Mayor Bach rule, that all the sculptures have to have at least 7 feet of clearance underneath any kind of protruding elements. So there's all sorts of fun stories and elements that go into both the citing process and then working with the artists. And sometimes, like a good example from last year, the jurors' grand prize winning mural, Hope Always Floats by Juan Morales, which is really beautiful and amazing. It's over down by the Meanwhile block in Widener Field. His proposal had this very long, tall painting that he had done. And we ended up wrapping that mural around 2 walls of the building. So that was something that evolved in the process of working with the artists and made it really impactful. So it's fun to kind of play around with some of those elements, especially with the muralists on where we decide to put the artwork.
And one of the other great parts of this is we're working directly with the local building owners and the local businesses for any of the murals. So these are conversations that Michelle gets to go down and talk to them and say, listen, we think your wall would be really great for this particular mural that's coming in this year. Like, look what it would do to change either a beige side of a building or a red brick side of a building into a living, breathing piece of art. There's no charge to the building owner for that, and it's only additive to downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the relationship with local businesses and the local building owners is just enhanced by this type of program.
Yeah.
Almost never get a no.
Almost never. I mean, sometimes people will have preferences about content or aesthetic preferences or things like that. But we have a lot of businesses that are really excited or kind of like, oh, how do I get one? How do I get a mural? I want one too. And this year we actually have an artist from Madrid who is doing a 100-foot long mural on a wall that's in an alley. And we have a business that has their entrance off the alley. So that'll be just kind of transformational for your experience of walking down that alley and into that business's door. And several of the surrounding businesses, it just felt very thematically appropriate. So they're all so excited and have been so kind and welcoming to that artist and making sure that they have a good experience in our city.
Now, I think you should run for political office because you almost made me forget the question I asked that you still haven't answered about what's going on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got distracted with our permitting stories. So when I do the walking tours for Art on the Streets, which is what is happening Saturday, people get to hear some of the behind the scenes process, whether it's, usually we try to not have things go wrong, but if anything funny happened, I will share that, or why we decided to put a piece of art where we did, or anything fun and interesting behind the scenes from working with artists.
So Saturday morning...
10 a.m.
At Story Coffee over in Acacia Park.
Yeah.
They meet up with you. Now they need to pre-register for that, right?
Yes. So that one is ticketed, and that is through our website.
And the small price of a ticket is $15, and you get a
cup of coffee
with that.
And it's great. We do a walking tour one Saturday a month from March through October. Mm-hmm. And a couple of them are on the streets. There's a haunted tour around Halloween. There's historical building tours. So the themes change every month. And it's just a great way to get to know your downtown, get a free cup of coffee. There's one that we do a cocktail with instead.
Yeah.
But just a really, again, another fun way to engage with your 1 square mile of your city center.
And you've got these great archives on the downtowncs.com website where people can actually scroll, and it's not doom scrolling, it's joy scrolling.
It is joy scrolling.
Yeah, and look at those. But, you do not want to make that your only experience of the art. But I bring that up because I just can't believe there are so many installations downtown that I don't think I've seen somehow.
Yeah, and we actually launched that digital archive with the 25th anniversary of the program because we really wanted people to see what an amazing impact it has had over the years, or to be able to search by artists and say like, oh, wow, this artist's career evolved, or they participated, year after year for a number of years, or every other year, whatever that was. So it's been a really cool way to show the extent and reach of the program over time.
So I'm definitely coming to the guided tour.
Awesome.
Yeah, that'll be great.
This is outside of Art on the Streets, but I think we can't go much farther without talking about AdAmAn Alley.
Yeah, that's true.
Will you talk a little bit about AdAmAn Alley?
It's a great idea.
For anyone who's not familiar with the local lore, the AdAmAn Club started over 100 years ago when friends were sitting around complaining about how boring the New Year's Eve parties were in Colorado Springs. And they had a great idea for something that they thought would be much more fun, which would be to climb Pikes Peak in the dead of winter on New Year's Eve and shoot off fireworks from the summit. And this was such a roaring success the first year and so popular with the local community. You can still go into the Pikes Peak Library District archives and find old Gazette articles from the very first time, like charting this journey up the peak, that they decided to do it every year and to add a new club member, hence the name AdAmAn. And they eventually added women. Took them a while, but
it took a long while, didn't it?
They eventually got there. So it's a really cool local community tradition that continues to this day. So as the club was approaching their 100th anniversary, they really wanted to do something special to commemorate it. And they approached our organization because of our reputation for public art. And that quickly kind of went from, maybe a mural or maybe a sculpture or something, to involving the amazing staff at the Pioneers Museum and digging more into the history. And then it grew to encompass this creative placemaking project that is a whole city block. So it was just an incredible amount of partners that came together and deeply cared about doing something really meaningful for our community in this time of growth, kind of telling this really amazing, special local story that sounds larger than life. It's kind of our own local legend and speaks to our perseverance and our relationship with nature and the landscape and our love for Pikes Peak. So the whole alley got upgraded utilities. There were utilities from the 1800s that got redone. So there are all of these public infrastructure improvements. It was graded to help with drainage, stormwater, like all of those things got done. And then my favorite part, of course, was all of the public art installations. So the club helped to fundraise, or they fundraised around their 100th anniversary to pay for all the public art. And then there was some funding from Colorado Springs Utilities and City that did all the construction stuff. So I think the public art budget was around 600,000, maybe it was, I can't remember exactly.
Wow.
But it was really significant. And we were able to do all of these murals throughout the alley. And then some of our favorite things, which are the light art elements that were brand new. No one had ever done anything like this in Colorado Springs. So one of the murals in the heart of the alley has a projection map on top of it. So the projector has this animated design that was done by an artist named George Berlin, who's really amazing. There's a 15-minute loop that just brings the mural to life at night. And then the whole alley is kind of structured around the club's journey up the peak. So there's a rendition of Bar Trail going up Pikes Peak kind of in the alley pavement with significant stops for the club marked. And then you can use a QR code to kind of learn more about that journey. And then at the summit of Pikes Peak, or kind of end of the trail, which is on the western end of the alley, there's a 2-story LED screen that has this animation of fireworks. So it's been a really special project, one we've been really proud of and has meant a lot to both local community members. And whenever we bring in conferences or people from out of town, people are really impressed with it.
So really every family, when you've got a family member or somebody visiting, I mean, automatically you should take them down to AdAmAn Alley.
100%. And it's fabulous any time of the day, but it's quite spectacular at night because not only the light mural that Michelle was talking about in the heart of the alley, but at the entrance to the alley is this gorgeous, was it bronze, the arch?
The place arch, yeah.
So there's a place arch that has kind of the original 5 characters that you see in historic photos. And above that is more LED fireworks. So if you don't know where the alley is, because we haven't told you yet, if you come downtown on Tejon Street between Colorado Avenue and Pikes Peak Avenue and you look east, you can't miss it. And even driving around downtown, because the LED fireworks are so high, you can kind of see them from there. So, and again, it's open 24 hours a day. Public art is for the public to come down and see. And this is just a really great marriage between history and art. And I can't even imagine what else the Adaman Club could have decided to do to honor the club's anniversary in such a spectacular way.
Yeah, that is very cool. And I have not been down there at night, so.
Yeah. Well, you should go down to the archives and get a drink, and you'll go through and you'll see everything.
You also, as a member of the public, can consider like renting out the alley for an event. There's a permitting process and a charge to it, but we've had 2 different fundraiser dinner parties as Downtown Ventures. Colorado Craft, who's right next door to the alley there, has rented isn't the right word, but they've secured it for
a special event.
A special event and like hosted a beer garden out there. If you wanted to get married in AdAmAn Alley, like you could do that.
You could. How cool.
So it's very cool.
So I was thinking about, some of my favorites. I love that Mary Mashburn mural on the side of Mountain Chalet that you can see from Pikes Peak. That's just awesome. That's one of the bigger ones too, I guess.
It is, yeah.
Sprinkle, sprinkle.
Yeah. Take Back the Power, the mural on the east-facing wall of 102 East Pikes Peak. That's pretty, I don't know, there's something special about that.
Yeah, that's a really powerful piece. It's by a local Indigenous artist, Greg Deal, and the portrait is actually of his oldest child, and draws attention to the missing and murdered Indigenous relatives movement. So it's been the site of kind of community organizing, and it's been really impactful and meaningful to a lot of people in our community since it was done.
Very cool.
I think at the time it was created, it was actually the largest portrait of an Indigenous person in the United States. We'd have to Google and see if that's still true, but at least when it was done.
Al, do you have a favorite?
I do have a favorite. I'm not even sure if it's still there. I'm pretty sure it's gone. But it was on a tiny triangle at the end of Platt Avenue and Cascade. There's a small triangle, and it was blades of grass. And you could actually walk through these probably 6 to 7 foot tall blades of grass. That was my favorite.
Like Boulder Crescent Park?
Yes.
We've had several different installations there.
It was 2015.
Oh, 2015. Okay. Well, that predates me. Just probably I don't have that particular piece in my memory.
How do you know the year, Al?
It was a significant year for me because I was diagnosed with cancer, so I remember it well.
Yeah. That's one of those things, right, is sometimes we'll be installing a piece of art and someone will walk by on the street and we will have finished 5 minutes before and they say, has that always been there? No. And so I do think it is a way of marking time. You have this memory that's tied to the specific piece of art, or it helps you see your city in a different way.
It absolutely did that.
Yeah, like all of us can kind of get on autopilot on our daily routines, right? The way that you always drive to work, or the way that you walk your dog, or your typical walk to lunch, or whatever that is. And you can kind of get on autopilot. And one of the amazing things about public art is it really pulls you out of that and kind of re-engages you in a different way. One of the things I love about the walking tours is hearing people react to the artworks. Because it's one thing, we always do a walkthrough with the jurors every year and they pick prizes. And they'll have their sort of art expert lens on looking at craft and construction and technique and formal elements and all those things, which are great. I'm an art nerd. I appreciate those. But it's really fun for me to see members of the public react, because sometimes they just really surprise me, or what they find really meaningful or really exciting. And it's really fun to hear people's different experiences with the art, because they're always different.
I love coming from the west side into downtown. And so many of the gateways across the various bridges, now you see art coming over.
Yeah.
So I love seeing Iscariot as I come over the Colorado Avenue Bridge. And that's the giant, how does it?
Octomermaid is what a lot of people call it.
Now, was that an art on the streets?
It was. It was, in fact.
That's very cool.
And it's one of our most beloved. People just really, really love it. I think there was a media story on it a couple years ago. Like every few years, someone will kind of do a little feature. And there are all of these comments on social media like, oh, this is my favorite piece of art downtown. I love this art so much. My daughter makes me pull over and stop the car every time we drive by to look at it more closely. So it's one that people have responded really well to.
And then the piece that went up 2 years ago on the side of Saigon Cafe.
Yeah.
I know it's called I Choose Art. It's this beautiful mural that's blue and pink and yellow. And who was the artist?
So the artist is Jules Mendoza, and it was really kind of a special story. So the first mural that he did for us was the year before, and it was entitled Jade, and it's over on Pikes Peak Avenue by the Philanthropy Collective. I remember from his application that year that he did Jade, that he said it was his first year working full-time as a professional artist. And I remember the jurors being like, oh, that's so cool. We'd love to have an early career artist. This work's really strong.
Yeah.
And then the second year he was in the program was when he did I Choose Art, and that won the jurors' top prize that year. So seeing him kind of his career trajectory take off and him taking on all of these amazing larger projects in other communities too, it's really cool when you get to see an artist's work evolve over a few years.
We should talk about the People's Choice Award.
We should.
Tell us.
They're the jurors' prizes that they hand out, of course. But then at the end of each year, you have a year to vote on which artwork is your favorite from the people in the community. So you only have a few weeks. What day is it?
Where are we now?
We close at May 30th.
Okay, yes. When people are listening to this, we'll be rapidly approaching the closing of the voting for, what do you call it, the 24-25 year?
Yes. Yeah, so everything that has been installed this past year.
And then when can they start voting for the 25-26?
At the scavenger hunt in our public launch.
That soon. Okay.
Yeah. So that's actually included on the scavenger hunt card. Is a little write-in for People's Choice. So we count all of those cards, all those votes, and then we add up everything that's come in through our website over the year. And then we get to send someone a surprise check, which is always awesome.
So you can go to the website and vote?
You can.
Yeah, so this Friday, June 6th, the scavenger hunt is from 5 to 8 p.m., where you'll get to see the 12 new sculptures for the 2025-2026 Art on the Streets. Again, it is free. You do have to register because we have a limited number of prizes and stuff that we give out. We certainly do take donations if you are thinking you're having a great time and you'd like to make a donation for the scavenger hunt. You can start voting for this year's People's Choice at the scavenger hunt, and then throughout the rest of the year at our website link, and we can include that in the notes here.
Yep.
I was just at the DeSoto Grill in Kalispell, Montana, and they host an annual car show. And the car show has a Kids' Choice Award. And I think that would be ideal for the art displays, have a Kids' Choice.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea.
I like that.
It seemed like art is special to adults, but from the eyes of a child, just to see it a very different way.
Yeah.
I think that's what made the grass so special to me is it was interactive in that you could walk amongst the grass. The blades were bigger than a human.
That's really cool.
And you could walk in and out of them.
Wow.
And there's been a few other pieces where you could actually interact in a physical way, not just standing next to it, that changes your perspective of the space around you. So from a kid's perspective, a lot of things become interactive, whether they are or not, to an adult.
I think one of the coolest ones for interactivity was a couple years ago. It was called Caterpillar, and it was on the lawn of the Pioneers Museum, and it was made from discarded tires, and then it was painted in green and red and yellow, and I don't know, was it 20 tires long? It was a huge
it was
caterpillar.
really fun. People loved it.
You could sit on it, you could climb on it, and we've got this great photo of like a biker gang downtown, and they were all off their motorcycles sitting on the
They stopped for a photo op. So I literally was wrapping up a walking tour, and that was our last stop. It was named Casey the Friendly Tire Caterpillar or something like that. And so the tour group is standing there. I think it was even drizzling. It was raining a little light. And we're like, okay, we're wrapping up. And all of these bikers pull over, park their bikes. They all get off. They run to the Caterpillar.
They're in full leathers.
They're full leather. And they had a dog, and the dog had a little helmet and goggles, and it was the cutest thing. So, of course, I ran over and said, can I take your picture? Because it just was such an amazing moment. So it's, again, everyone from all walks of life can love the art. And that caterpillar was very loved to the degree that lots of his paint got worn off in that year. But it was a really fun piece to have there. And again, one of those, I think, things that people don't think about for public art, of kind of behind the scenes technical story. So because that piece was supposed to be interacted with, it was designed to have children climb on it.
Or bikers.
Whoever, climb on it or be able to sit on it, interact with it. It needed to meet playground safety standards. So I found myself reading a 60-page playground safety manual and then working with the Colorado Springs Parts Department to talk about, we had to end up buying this very fancy engineered wood mulch, and it had to have a fall zone with a certain foot perimeter around the caterpillar. So if anyone fell off, they had a fluffy, gentle bed of wood mulch to land in. So there are all these fascinating things that come with this job. And it's kind of my favorite of this intersection between our city government and permitting and all this very technical stuff, and then these beautiful, joyful installations that people get to enjoy.
Who knew there was red tape? But I also wanted to ask you about the Discover Downtown Pass, which I didn't know existed either, but I've discovered the Discover Downtown Pass.
How to discover downtown.
You want to share about that?
Yeah, the Discover Downtown Pass is a free app that you can download at downtowncs.com/pass. And what it does is have a huge list of businesses, shops, art galleries, restaurants, bars, coffee shops, even hotels, where they are giving you a special offer if you want to check them out downtown. So you download this pass. It's totally free to use. Once you open it up, it gives you a list of all the different businesses that are participating. Sometimes it's a BOGO coffee. Sometimes it's a certain percentage off your bill, or a free appetizer with an entree, or money off your stay at one of the hotels. And it's just really a great way to check out stuff that you've never been to before downtown, and give you an extra reason to come downtown instead of go someplace else. We'll do a refresh about once a year and update the offers. But yeah, the reason it's called Discover Downtown is we realized that during COVID, no one went anywhere.
Yeah.
And then we all got really used to sitting at home and sitting on our couch. And as Michelle and I were talking about, like snuggling in with your dog instead of going out to do things. And so with launching the Discover Downtown Pass, it was kind of this enticement to get people to leave their couch, leave their house, come on downtown, find something new, rediscover a favorite. And it really has been good for that.
But you don't have to leave your dog. You can bring your dog to the dog park.
Yeah.
Or a patio.
And I think it's safe to say, I'm going to jinx us, we're done with the snow.
Mother's Day is past. Like,
if it snows on any of my muralists, I'm blaming you.
Okay. Highly unlikely that it's going to snow. So it's time to get off the couch and get outside and come downtown.
The latest snow that we've ever gotten has been June 2nd, so I wouldn't say that just yet.
Well, I think it snowed later than that in June, way back.
Well, a couple of years ago, we had a muralist who flew out from LA, got into the Colorado Springs airport about 10. I get this frantic text message. I'm at the airport and there are no Ubers. And it was one of those surprise spring snowstorms. It was just like dumping, blizzarding snow. And I said, don't worry, I'll come get you. But they were like, like, oh, am I going to paint in this? What is happening?
Going to have to stop by Mountain Chalet and get some new wardrobe before you.
Yeah.
So before Al asks the last question, I want to just talk about some other things coming up, other downtown events. Anything you two want to highlight, like Pride Festival.
Yeah, Pride Fest is coming up weekend of June 14th. So that will be on the grounds of the Pioneers Museum and the park over there. So there's a festival and a parade day. So Saturday is festival, Sunday is festival and parade.
Al, will you be in that parade?
I am normally in the parade, but I will not be this year because I will be out of town. It's my 50th high school reunion.
Oh, wow. And that's a big downtown weekend. I think it was one of our top 3 weekends for traffic last year.
Is that right?
Yep.
But if you just head over to pikespeakpride.org, they should have a route for there. But it is so much fun. I got to work the PikeRide valet booth last year, and it's probably one of the most vibrant, exciting, colorful, and friendly events that downtown has. So come on out. And if you do decide to ride a PikeRide bike or your own bike, I know they always have a free valet there. So you can bring your bike. They will keep it safe. You don't have to lock it up anywhere. They'll still be there. You can pick it up when you're done. So even if you're on your own bike, and it's a great way to avoid, getting in the middle of the parade and getting stuck in traffic or anything. So if you're a biker, which I know the 4 of us all are, make sure and get your wheels out and come downtown.
Yeah.
I know we need to wrap up, but talking about bicycles reminds me that Bike to Work Day's got to be coming up, right?
Yes.
Later in June.
Yes.
Colorado Springs Bike to Work Day is Wednesday, June 25th. Bike to Work Day, of course, encourages bicycling for personal transportation, commuting, community health, and really is that one day a year when our bicycle advocates are saying, if you're not usually a cyclist, if you're not usually a bike rider, try it out. And it's super cool because there'll be dozens of little pop-ups around downtown. You can stop and get a breakfast burrito or some orange juice on your way into work. I know there's often events and workshops leading up to it, that bike safety and all that kind of stuff. So check out coloradosprings.gov. Bike to Work Day's schedule will all be listed there, but lots of that happens within downtown as well as across the city.
It's all over the place, but downtown's a good destination.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, Al, final question.
I've got to know, Michelle, what is it that you love about Colorado Springs?
I grew up here, and then I lived other places for a number of years, and then moved back in 2017. And like everybody, I love our outdoor access, but I especially love the fact that we have both the urban environment right next to all the amazing outdoor access. So you can be downtown, you can go to an amazing restaurant, you can see public art, you have all of the arts and culture amenities that you would want in a city, but then I can go 10 minutes and be on an amazing trail with my dog. And I just don't think that you get that very many places. It's something that's really special for our community.
That is so true. But is there a spot, a specific spot?
A specific
Since
spot.
You have such a unique perspective knowing all the downtown art. Where do you go and what do you look at?
Well, I love all the things, but I do really love our Fine Arts Center. I like to tell people about the architecture if they don't know. It was built in 1936, and it actually won an international silver medal for its architecture. And it was one of the first places in the country that had a museum and a theater and an art school kind of all in one complex. That was a super innovative idea for the time.
Wow.
And the architect, John Gamim, had actually done a lot of Spanish colonial revival projects all around New Mexico. So if you look at the Fine Arts Center, you can see the influence of some of those forms in the building. And he didn't want the cement to feel too cold. He wanted it to tie into the natural landscape. So they actually mixed soil from Monument Creek into the cement to give it a little bit more warmth. So it wasn't a harsh industrial gray.
Wow.
And then there are all of these beautiful kind of Art Deco motifs over the doors and incorporated into the architecture that are kind of riffs on Southwestern imagery and iconography. So I think if people haven't seen that collection is really amazing. And the museum does a lot of really interesting work. So if you're kind of a art nerd, that's one of the great places to check out, and one that's close to my heart, that's downtown. And I love, in our jobs, we get to work so closely with downtown business owners. And that's one of the most special things, is it just feels like a small town. I walk down the street and I see business owners that I know, and you feel like you have this whole kind of community and family of everyone downtown that's working together to make our city cool.
Thank you. That's a beautiful perspective. And I want to go back to the Fine Arts Museum.
Yep. You're inspiring us. So thanks very much for joining us, Michelle Winchell, Executive Director of Downtown Ventures. What a story. We're looking forward to the next batch of art on the streets. And I'll see you for that walking tour on Saturday.
Perfect. Wear your running shoes.
We're coming to you from the Studio 809 Community Podcast Studio at The Next Us, a professional cooperative environment for small business in downtown Colorado Springs.
That's it for this episode of Loving the Springs, where we celebrate the best and elevate the rest.
In the Pikes Peak region, there's no shortage of activities. Whether you're experiencing breathtaking parks or magnificent works of art, if you're getting fashionable at a film festival or fresh at a farmer's market, if you want to hear the sweet sounds of a symphony or the smooth shred of a Stratocaster, look no further than PikeRadar, your one-stop shop for all events in the Pikes Peak region, your free source for viewing and posting events. So no matter how you engage with our beautiful region, visit PikeRadar.com and get plugged into the peak.